This is the story of Androcles and the lion. There was once in the days of ancient Rome a certain young slave named Androcles, who was so ill treated by his master that his life became unbearable. Finding no remedy for what he suffered, he said to himself, "It is better to die than to continue to live in such hardship and misery as I am forced to suffer. Therefore, I must run away from my master. If I am captured and brought back, I know that I shall be punished with a cruel death. But it is better to die at once than to live in misery. If I am to escape, I must head into the deserts and woods, which are inhabited only by beasts, but they cannot treat me any more cruelly than I've been used by humans. Therefore, it is better that I trust myself with them than to continue to be a miserable slave." Having formed this resolution, he took an opportunity of leaving his master's house and hid himself in a thick forest that was some miles outside the city. But here the unhappy young man found that he had escaped from one kind of misery only to experience another. He wandered about all day through a vast and trackless wood, where his flesh was continually torn by thorns and brambles. He grew hungry, but could find no food in this dreary solitude. Soon he was ready to die with fatigue, and lay down in despair in a large cavern which he had found by accident. He had not lain long in the cavern before he heard a dreadful noise, which seemed to be the roar of some wild beast, and which terrified him very much. He bolted up with the intention of escaping, and had already reached the mouth of the cave when he saw coming toward him a lion of immense size that prevented any possibility of retreat. Androcles now believed his death to be inevitable, but, to his great astonishment, the beast advanced toward him at a gentle pace, without any sign of hostility or rage, and uttered a kind of mournful wail, as if he wanted the assistance of the man. Androcles, who had always had a bold disposition, took courage from this and decided to examine his strange guest. He saw, as the lion approached him, that he seemed to limp upon one of his legs, and that the foot was extremely swollen, as if it had been wounded. Acquiring still more fortitude from the gentle manner of the beast, he went up to him and took hold of the wounded paw as a surgeon would examine a patient. Androcles then perceived that a thorn of great size had penetrated the ball of the foot and was the cause of the swelling and lameness that he had observed. Androcles found that the beast, far from resenting his familiarity, received it with the greatest gentleness and seemed to invite him to proceed. He therefore extracted the thorn and, pressing the swelling, forced out a quantity of liquid that had built up in the paw and had been the cause of so much pain. As soon as the beast felt himself thus relieved, he began to show his joy and gratitude by every expression within his power. He jumped about like a spaniel, he wagged his enormous tail, and licked the feet and hands of his physician. Nor was he contented with these demonstrations of kindness. From this moment, Androcles became his guest, and the lion never went forth in quest of prey without bringing home what he caught and sharing it with his friend. In this savage state of hospitality, Androcles continued to live for several months. In time, however, wandering through the woods, he met with a company of soldiers sent out to apprehend him, and was taken prisoner by them and led back to his master. The laws of that time being very severe against slaves, he was tried and found guilty of having fled from his master, and as a punishment for his crime, he was sentenced to the arena where he would face, unarmed, a ferocious wild animal that had been kept many days without food, and so be torn to pieces. When the fatal day arrived, Androcles found himself in a spacious Colosseum, enclosed on every side, round which many thousands of people were assembled to view the mournful spectacle. Soon a dreadful yell was heard, which struck the spectators with horror, and a monstrous lion rushed out of an open gate and darted forward with erected mane and flaming eyes and jaws that gaped like an open tomb. A mournful silence instantly fell over the crowd. All eyes were directly upon the victim, whose destruction now appeared inevitable. The pity of the multitude, though, was soon converted into astonishment when they beheld the lion, instead of destroying his defenseless prey, crouch submissively at his feet, fawn upon him as a faithful dog would do upon his master, and rejoice over him as a mother that unexpectedly recovers her child. The governor of the province, who was present, then called out with a loud voice and ordered Androcles to explain to them this mystery. Androcles then related to the assembly everything that happened on his adventures in the woods, and concluded by saying that the very lion which now stood before them had been his friend and host in the woods. All the persons present were astonished and delighted with the story, to find that even the fiercest beasts are capable of being softened by gratitude and moved by humanity. And they all asked for the governor to pardon Androcles for his crime. This was immediately granted, and the governor also made the young man a present of the lion that had in this manner twice saved the life of Androcles. The end.